Hari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Store Shri Mata's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya Store Shri Mata's Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anantikoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Naam Acharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुन राधा कुन गिरि गोवर्धन की। वृंदावन नवद्वीप धाम की। गंगा माँ जमुना माँ की। भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're going to read from the Transcendental Diary compiled by Harisuri Prabhu. We're continuing from the last time where we left off, and today we are on page number 6. Page number 6. It's very interesting, Prabhupada's activities on the planet, where the devotees were given such an opportunity to serve him, and at the same time make so much of spiritual advancement. So we stopped where we're talking about cleanliness the last time, and it continues. His diary continues. Let me just check the date of his diary. Oh, is it? It was November 27th. 1975. So it was a mid-afternoon, and they were in Delhi around mid-afternoon. Harisuri Prabhu took an auto rickshaw and he goes to Chandni Chowk, where it's in Delhi, the old Delhi. It was like a long drive, a 1-hour drive, and he went there to get a garland for Srila Prabhupada. It was quite interesting that he, because if you know Delhi, if you're a Delhi wala, you'll know what Delhi is. You have just to run cross the road, and there's so much of traffic. And then he felt it was worth it, that he went all the way and he brought a garland for Srila Prabhupada. And he waited in the later on to present it at the darshan time. So then he did, and Prabhupada was very pleased to receive it. So also he took that opportunity. Generally, like when you go to a spiritual master, you want to get the maximum benefit. You want to get the maximum association. You'll stand for a while. You may smile for a while. Because the association of devotees, for pure devotee, is very beneficial. So, that gave him an excuse to remain longer in the darshan. And it reminds me of another devotee, Dandvir Maharaj. Dandvir. He was, he inherited a lot of money from his parents or his family. So the temple president at that time was like, auctioning services to Prabhupada. What you can do for Prabhupada. So what he did, he chose that he wanted to bathe Prabhupada's feet. And he gave a lot of money to, it was like, there were different amounts for different services. So he had a lot of money. So he wanted to bathe Prabhupada's feet with honey and what have you. And then he got that service. So gradually, I mean, as he was bathing Prabhupada's feet, he's thinking to himself, he's taking his time now, He's taking a lot of time to do it because he wanted to get his money's worth. So he was taking a lot of time to do it. And then Prabhupada, he kind of like intuitively, he picked it up and he said to speed it up, to speed it up. So in the association of a pure devotee, you want to get the maximum benefit, and somehow, And then he realized that Prabhupada was not, so concerned about being worshipped. But Prabhupada had to accept as a service. So, just on the talk of flowers, it's such a, we just had a flower festival, a Pushpa Abhishek. It was so beautiful anyway. So as they were traveling to India, they came across, traveling to India, sometimes the train stops at certain stations, and then one of the devotees went down, because in India you can jump off the train, go buy your whatever it is. On the train there's hot food. I don't know if you travel in train in India, it's one of the best things to do. You'll get a free body massage because it's so packed. Is it? So packed, in the trains. Even like I like what Gauranga Prabhu said, about. That's what he said about Indian trains, and he was saying that how also that on one occasion it was so packed that he was like, his hands were like that. One person was by his chest, and he was like, and he had his bag of books. And somebody said, "You want a Gita?" At that point, buy Bhagavad Gita. So he's pointing, he's showing, pointing. He says, "My bag there." So he took out the Gita. The guy took out 100 rupees. Now he can't take the money now. So he said, "You should point it, put it in his pocket." Then he had to give him 30 rupees change. So he's pointing, "Take your change." The person took his change. He had the Gita, and then Gauranga Prabhu said, the first time he realized he's not the doer. Everything was done without. Anyway, but it's just so wonderful. So, as we were traveling the train, I traveled for like 36 hours at one time on the train. Just traveling India. Yeah, but anyway, so one of the disciples, they went to pick some flowers and they ran back. And also the devotees had a bouquet of purple flowers as an offering to Prabhupada in devotion. So Prabhupada, being the spiritual master, he calmly accepted it and said, Lord Shiva wear these flowers. These purple flowers, Lord Shiva wear these flowers. So the devotees were thought, they made some aparat, and but Prabhupada, he was quick to pick that up. They may felt a little discouraged. But then Prabhupada smiled and he put one flower behind his ears, he widened his eyes with a large grin. And as if, he was playing like Lord Shiva with purple flowers on his hair. So flowers is such a nice commodity that it kinds of, actually I know most of you like flowers, right? I also love flowers. Oh, opulence, yes. Flowers are so beautiful. But today as I was taking the tray to Srila Prabhupada, I saw all these vases here. In American they say vases, but vase, the vases here on the side here. And they're older flowers, probably from the week. And it reminded me of Prabhupada, how he didn't want to waste anything. Because once, Prabhupada entered the Los Angeles temple and he saw the vases was not there. So he asked for it, and the servant replied that they went to put fresh flowers. And Prabhupada said, no, the flowers were fine. And he said, why do we have to, continuously change the flowers? Because we shouldn't waste. In the Western world, they waste a lot. Like Srila Prabhupada was very conscious about not wasting Krishna's energy, whether it's electricity, and we should do the same. Whatever it is, we should always be conscious. So the devotees were informed, that you change, you can use the flowers till it's like wilted, to a large extent wilted, and then because he was very concerned about wastage. So then, going on, and I'll just read this. Then Prabhupada, I'll just paraphrase it. He wanted to translate his books from English to Hindi because he wanted his books to be published in other languages. And then Gopal Krishna Maharaj was assigned the task of advertising for qualified Hindi translators. Because Srila Prabhupada was very, concerned about the message, the proper message being transmitted. And he personally interviewed all the applicants. And he carefully checked their philosophical understanding also, or their scholastic abilities. Because he wanted the same meaning to be transmitted or conveyed. Because in India, Mayavad philosophy is quite rife, and he didn't want that to be, So he was very pakka and very, thorough. Because really to find, good translators in Hindi is also difficult. Because even in India, the Hindi is now diluted. It's like I hear sometimes it's English, and in Bombay it's a lot of English. But in the rural, it's still there. But there's a lot of, so like that. So Harisuri Prabhu says that. And then the darshan ended, and then the guests left. And Prabhupada, he utilized his time very effectively. He sat with the managers. He discussed preaching, activities, managing, advice. He gave like that. And then Harikesh asked Harisuri to leave. After he finished, that around 9 p.m. So he really relished this moments. So then there was an incident that Harisuri Prabhu had two pairs of socks, and he offered it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, he presented it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada asked him whether it's made of wool, and he said no, and then with a mild disappointment, so thinking that Prabhupada didn't want the socks. So he took it back, and then he went back to his quarters. So then he comes daily to massage Prabhupada. And he says that and I'll just read it. I went back to the temple rest, feeling satisfied with my first attempts to personally serve His Divine Grace, and completely enlivened from the intimate contact I had with him. But then, subsequently, just after this, around 6 o'clock, or at the next day, on the 28th, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Harikesh came panting into the quarter where Harisuri Prabhu was, and he was inquiring about the socks. And then, anyway, Harikesh Prabhu looked at his feet. He could see he's using one pair. So, but he had the other pair. So, fortunately, the other pair was there. So he took the other pair, and he went and presented it to Prabhupada. So I thought about it last night, and I spoke about it the last time, that it's important to know the mind of the spiritual master. And that's like a challenge, because you have like different levels of disciples. Like a third class disciple